Mental health affects a lot of people. According to Charity Mind, 1 in 4 people in the UK alone will experience a mental health issue every year.
Personally, I suffer from depression and anxiety. Now, this video isn't about me, but I feel like it might be useful to establish where I'm coming from before we delve into this topic, so here's a super brief history. I've struggled with depression on and off for well over a decade now, but I wasn't officially diagnosed until 2012. I took antidepressants for 2 years and underwent cognitive behavioural therapy until eventually I felt stable enough to wean myself off the meds with the help of my GP late last year.
Right, with that established, it should come as no surprise I'm generally fascinated by how mental health difficulties are portrayed in video games. A lot of them get it very wrong.
Now, I'm not setting out to bash those video games that have treated mental health issues insensitively or portrayed them poorly. Video games struggle with their portrayal of mental health in the same way all forms of media do, but by the same token, some of them get it so right.
So here's to those video games that handle mental health issues in a sensitive, productive manner.
First, there's Life is Strange. I know we talk about this game quite frequently on this channel, but frankly that's because it deserves to be discussed. Life is Strange tackles a number of difficult topics with great sensitivity, and mental health issues are no exception. In the first episode, it's possible to find a packet of fluoxetine belonging to Chloe. Fluoxetine is an SSRI, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, the most commonly prescribed medication for depression and anxiety. Neither Max nor the game itself makes a big point out of this discovery. It's just there, and that's really nice. Finding someone's medication can be a really difficult moment because it's inadvertently asking someone to share something that can be intensely private, and your own reaction to that discovery can mean a lot.
Now, Chloe is a vulnerable, interchangeable character who doesn't resonate with everybody. Some people have rightly said she's maybe written a little too heavy-handedly. Whatever your thoughts though, this is a really sensitive moment.
Episode 2 obviously deals with the more extreme end as Kate attempts to take her own life. It's strange playing something like this through as a set piece, but it's also powerful in the way it makes you recall how you treated her earlier. In the end, something as simple as picking up the phone and listening when someone reaches out can make all the difference. Life is Strange should also be applauded for including links to organisations and helplines that are there for those who feel they may need help. The very existence of lifeisstrange.com/talk is a lovely thing. Other games aren't quite so straightforward in their portrayal of mental health problems, but nonetheless deal with issues such as trauma with real sensitivity. For instance, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, the excellent bit of DLC for Borderlands 2.
Roll for initiative, suckers!
At first glance, it's easy to think, what on earth could this completely over-the-top Dungeons and Dragons send-up possibly have to do with mental health?
There's a unicorn that poops weapons, for crying out loud.
Well, as those of you who have played Assault on Dragon Keep to the end will know, here come spoilers by the way, the entire questline, and indeed the reason for playing fictional tabletop bunkers and badasses in the first place, is to help Tina process the resultant trauma from the death of her friend Roland at the hands of Handsome Jack. As you first cotton on to Tina's elegiac incorporation of Roland into the plot as an all-saving deus ex machina, it seems like a fairly negative thing. Lily, for one, assumes Tina is in denial and repeatedly reminds her Roland is dead until, toward the end, Tina's resolve finally breaks.
So do you want to do some side quests, or?
You need to accept it. Roland is dead.
I know!
At this moment, Tina crumples inward and seems to admit defeat. And it's now, when she's most vulnerable, we finally get to see the full extent of the framework Tina has built around herself. Whether consciously or not, this Bunkers and Badasses campaign is an exercise for Tina in processing her grief and, in some ways, forgiving herself. Acknowledging it's alright for her to carry on living and even return to a normal state of being even though Roland is gone. For something that, lest we forget, contains a gun-pooping unicorn called Butt Stallion to deal with grief and survivor guilt so poignantly is really impressive.
In a very similar way, Child of Light takes the idea of retreat and escapism and weaves it into a kind of fairy tale.
Child of Light tells the story of Aurora, whose mother has passed away and whose father, an Austrian duke, has just remarried. As we pick up the tale, Aurora goes to sleep in bed, at which point her skin turns cold as ice. Her father, distraught at the apparent death of his daughter, is then bedridden. It doesn't take a huge leap of the imagination to see that Aurora isn't under the grip of a magic spell, she's depressed. In the fairy tale narrative, Aurora is fighting to restore order to a kingdom and save her father. In real life, she's fighting to get better and return to a sense of normality, and by extension, reassure her dad.
Very similarly, The Unfinished Swan tells a story of a boy trying to come to terms with the loss of his mother, a woman who loved to paint but never finished anything.
The game world in The Unfinished Swan is a blank canvas. You make sense of things and gain a sense of direction by flinging paint around, imitating the act of painting that so clearly defined our hero's mother. Sometimes, little by little, you make your way to a high-up vista and look back to see just how far you've come, how much progress you've made, even though the sense of isolation still aches. Both of these games help the characters gently, introducing new challenges piece by piece and helping them learn how to believe in themselves and fight back from a starting point so low it seems to offer no hope of escape. They're bittersweet experiences, threaded through with a profound sense of sorrow but articulated through a series of small victories. They explore grief, loss, and depression through a sense of things slowly getting better. Speaking from a personal perspective for a moment, I found both to be incredibly cathartic experiences. Now, these games are notable as they weave the topic of mental health in among other narrative threads, making it an important part of an experience or character, but not the be-all and end-all. That said, it'd be disingenuous of me to make a video about mental health in games without at least name-checking those games that make such issues their main focus. Depression Quest is a brutally honest exploration of what it's like to try and function day by day while struggling with depression. As you progress through each day, you're given a summary of your current state, but also options that were previously available to you, such as just knuckling down at your job and simply getting on with it, get whittled away. It's a poignant reminder of how depression can systematically disarm a sufferer, steadily chipping away at their defensive options as they try and carry on with some semblance of normality. Depression Quest perfectly encapsulates the sense that oftentimes fighting against depression isn't a short race back to feeling okay, it's a series of marathons starting one after the other, often without any respite. There are plenty of other games like Alone, Flowy, Deep, There Are Monsters Under Your Bed, and countless others, all designed to help understand and process different mental health issues. Asylum Jam is a game jam that tasked developers with making a horror game that doesn't use mental health disorders as the reason behind whatever nasty thing is happening, a trope that's all too common within the genre. Ultimately, mental health is a difficult subject to portray. It's remarkably complex, frequently very personal, and often difficult to grasp for sufferers and non-sufferers alike. So when games like these do get it right, it's all the more inspiring to see.
If you feel like you or someone you know may be suffering, don't do it in silence. You can find links to an organisation near you in the description of this video. Take care of yourselves.